The audience score for Willow has dropped since last week, which I initially thought is impossible given how bad it was to start with. And I think I have to disagree. I would give Willow, episode 3, a score of 29% because now that I have totally lowered my expectations, I am not as shocked and as disturbed by how terrible this show really is. It's really hard to imagine who's the target audience and who is meant to be amused by the little humor that we find in the show altogether. Episode 3 of Willow begins with Boorman attempting to tell Kit a story about her father. In his story, which really could have been told in less than a minute but will be artificially dragged throughout the entire episode, we learn some legends of the universe of Willow.
It was 10,000 years, and about 3 weeks ago. Thule, heir to the Chimerian Empire, had been sick as a child. When his father died, his younger brother Tiberius felt he'd make the stronger king.
10,000 years ago, two brothers, Thor and Tiberius, fought over the right to rule this kingdom. Tiberius, presumably named after Roman Emperor Tiberius, who is remembered as vengeful and authoritarian ruler, sieged the city for 40 days. For some reason, the mother of the two pretenders to the throne forged a secret weapon.
So their mother, Annabelle, a Fae of the Grove, forged for her son Thule a cuirass of pure chromium.
Now you may be wondering, why was the mother of Thor and Tiberius the one who made this secret weapon/armor? Of course, it is because a typical role for a queen in any universe, magical or not, is to be a smith. Ever since I was a little girl, I dreamed of becoming a smith. Clearly, so did Annabelle, because at some point, somewhere in between being a queen and having two conflict-prone sons, she also took on forging weapons as a hobby. Anyway, Annabelle also assembled a Lux Arcana, which is meant to be some sort of magical activation key with a special name so that we are mystified and sucked into this incredible backstory of this universe. This epic armor allowed Thor, with no other backup, to defeat his evil brother.
So, with no army at his back, no knights by his side, Thule, the rightful king of Chimeria, rode out of the city gates to meet his tyrant brother and 2,000 death dealers.
But we don't get to learn the rest of this story because the writers decided to go with their already present annoying habit of forceful character depiction. So they chose to remind us that Kit is a person with an attention span of a 4-year-old who's so self-absorbed she cannot listen to Boorman's story. This is really obsolete. They already fully managed to convey this message in episodes 1 and 2.
This is really fascinating. I can tell they don't call you Boorman for nothing, but could you just tell me about my father?
Well, I'm trying to, but you keep...
Okay, well, can you make it short?
Our fellowship, the group, they finally realize that Elora is gone. She's nowhere to be found.
Where's Elora?
Seriously?
So they decide to split up and search for her by going each in a different direction to look for signs of Elora.
Spread out. She could have gone far.
Just keep this in mind because within a few scenes they will all arrive at the same location at the same time, which is just a bit strange. It is Jade who finds Elora. Elora is being kidnapped by this guy whose name I cannot really remember. Does she call for help? No. Instead, she comes up with the most clever question of all time. What are you doing?
Hey, kid.
What are you doing?
I think it's pretty obvious what's happening here. Why do we need to be told this again? And is Jane alarmed by the fact that the voice of this friend that she has, who for some reason has turned evil, is now really creepy and unusual, and that honestly he's not looking like his best self? No, she seems at best mildly confused.
I'm taking her back.
Wait, hold on.
You know who she is? And you know why I can't run?
What was that?
This entire dialogue scene seems to be born of an imagination of a 10-year-old. It is so slow and uninteresting. It's incredible that somebody was paid to write this.
You're not yourself. You need help. Willow can...
Don't make me kill you.
Anyway, before they get to fight, Willow appears, and again, we are told the physical description of this situation, which as an audience member, I can see and understand. I don't need to be told again what is happening.
Commander Ballantyne says he's here on orders from Sorsha to take Elora back to Tirsley. Is that so?
At the same time, all characters that were meant to go in different directions to search for Elora come together to this very spot, even though nobody called for them. How? Did we forget that they went looking for Elora in different directions?
It's up to Elora, and it doesn't look like you asked her.
I think this scene kind of shows that Willow's lines tend to be a mix of meaningless, pointless comments and really quirky deadpan comedy, which at this point is the only positive aspect of this TV series. It is quite uneven, and that's probably down more to the script than anything else. A recurrent theme of the show so far seems to be this, I'm not sure how to describe this, a semi-sarcastic form of almost a meta-commentary, which kind of reminds me of Rick and Morty, but not. The characters are on the verge of breaking the fourth wall in some sense.
Well, excuse me for trying to add a little bit of drama and context to the night that we left Tir Asleen to find the cuirass and use it to defend the realm.
So episode 3 showcases these elements again, and on one hand we have Borman, whose comments are most obviously part of external narration meant for the audience and don't really match with a character going through the events in real life.
Hold on. Someone just concisely recap everything I missed.
No? Okay, I'll have a go. Valentine's lost his mind and he's trying to kidnap Elora on that horse.
Stay out of this, Borman.
I can't.
And then on the other hand, we have this guy, the other prince, who is verbalizing elements of the plot that should be self-evident, like the faults of his character.
Faster than this.
I blew it.
When there's an opportunity to be heroic or even competent, I freeze up. My father calls me an embarrassment to the name of Hester, and he's right.
And the key events, like Elora is being taken.
I got her.
These things, they should be a realization moment for the viewer, but whoever wrote this show made this prince character constantly describe them. That's just so boring. Back to the episode, Elora has been kidnapped by 3 soldiers on horses, but she does escape them by running into the forest and she loses her captors because I guess she is faster than a horse. I think her secret weapon is changing into a sonic hedgehog when we cannot see her.
No one saw me. I'm too fast.
So she escapes and she even has enough time to befriend some locals, the locals being 2 woodswomen. Yes.
You, come. Feast upon our modest repast. Though we are but humble woodswomen, what's ours is yours.
In that universe, the other top pick for a career for a non-noble lady is to be a lumberjack living in the wilderness.
This is Anne, by the way. I'm Hubert. And what may we ask is your appellation?
My what?
And in the next scene, it's so bizarre. When I was watching it, I didn't know what to expect. Obviously, these 2 characters have a pretty positive disposition. And then again, they live in the middle of nowhere in the woods and they have a hut with nobody around. So my instinct was, oh, they're probably some psycho killers or witches that eat babies. But no, these 2 characters were simply meant to die before we learned their names. So that's that. The other little side event that is kind of awkward and strange revolves around another pointless, clumsy dialogue. Jade and Kit seem to be having a bit of an argument, and Jade reveals that she has been letting the princess win in all their training sessions.
What? You're saying you let me win?
Again, this is, I think, another case of forced character development. Kit says she doesn't need saving, yet just a moment ago she was in a fight and she was almost killed. And if it was not for Jade, she would be dead.
I didn't hesitate. I was trying to save you.
I don't need saving, Jade.
So no doubt, Kit at this point knows that these lines make little sense in the context of the events of this episode. I'm not going to recap the entire episode, it is not worth it. You can pretty much guess what happens. Yes, Elora is reunited with her awkward group of heroes, Jade kills the former mentor, and there are some strange rats involved. Oh, and Willow finally uses his magic but ends up weak and devastated.